Like I always say, wherever you find yourself in the world, you can always catch up with us and get to know what is happening when it comes to diplomacy, foreign policy, exchanges between countries at the bilateral and multilateral level. This is your go-to place. Today is another informative, educative, and insightful day or episode. I am super excited. My producer tells me to contain my excitement, so I'm just going to try to do that as well. But this is one of the moments where we get to do something that has never been done on this show before, and we can't wait to share that with you. We'll be talking about international relations and diplomacy as always, but this time around we are focusing on international finance and trade, or international trade and finance, and we need more women to represent in that area. Now you understand why this moment is very special for us to bring you the women trailblazers when it comes to international trade and finance, right? I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I will share my guest with you in a bit. Welcome back. The show is still Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nartey. Like I mentioned, my guest is seated and we are going to get very conversational. We're still around the subjects of diplomacy, international relations, global affairs, with a particular focus on international trade and finance. Women are not highly represented when it comes to this space. This is why we are giving it so much attention today on the show, because I know there are young women watching. There are people who are actually thinking, where can I find myself in the diplomatic space or the international arena? There are so many branches, and this is one of the key branches when it comes to global affairs or international relations. So I'm going to tell you a bit about my guest, and then we will have her do all the talking. Now, my guest, she has a huge profile. I couldn't finish, absorbing everything, so I chose the ones that I was okay with, so I could share those ones with you. She's a diplomatic liaison, a global business strategist, international trade specialist, certified AGOA advisor, SDG advocate. My goodness, she is a trailblazer in multiple fields, boasting expertise in diplomacy and global business strategy and project management with over 20 good years of experience. I have so much that I can't wait to ask her. Let me introduce her to you properly. She is Her Excellency Lady Joanna J. Coleman, and she is my guest on today's show. Excellency.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to Diplomatic Affairs.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's such an honor to finally have you here. It feels like a dream.
Likewise.
I can't believe we made this happen.
We did it.
My goodness. Now, let's get talking. I am in love with your outfits. Let's start from there. Where did you get this from?
They are not paying me to advertise, but I will say, it's a local company that does very good with ready wear,
right?
As well as just picking the fabric as well. But if they want to pay me, I'm all game.
Is this Ghanaian or African? This is Ghanaian, right?
It is.
This is very trendy and it's beautiful on you. I love it.
Thank you.
Now let's talk about when you came into Ghana and what brings you here.
This time or all the other maybe 6-7 times.
This particular one, because I don't want us to go back.
Because we'll be here for a while.
Right.
This particular time, I've come because I have some projects here that are going on. One of them is the African Women's Empowerment Summit that is happening in Kumasi in the Ashanti region, actually this weekend. And one of the roles that I am playing is to host or co-host a brunch with the queens. And so we have queens coming from the diaspora as well as from the Ashanti region, so that we can have some conversations about how the diaspora can really play a role in building up Ghana as well as Africa, in addition to highlight youth entrepreneurship in the agribusiness sector. So really happy to support that work. In addition, we had an opportunity to go host a program that dealt with, doing projects that have global impact, and how do you manage that type of project. So we did that, I believe, last week. I've been here a while now, so please forgive me. Last week or week before last, just to be able to teach aspiring entrepreneurs or those who are looking to grow and expand their capacity exactly how do you deal with the world internationally and not just local.
Wow, that's a lot you have going on there. Now we're going to break it down further. Sure. But before we do that, would like to know you. Like I mentioned in my introductory statement, that rarely do we have women occupying the space that you occupy or where you find yourself. And I think a few days ago, I mentioned casually in one of my videos that I struggle. So I'm just going to use myself, my experience over the years and what the reality is on the ground. Whenever there are issues to be discussed around diplomacy and international relations or global affairs, you have men at the forefront.
Sure.
Hardly, not even behind the scenes, do you find that many women in this space. And I am worried about this. And because we have identified a problem, we want to be part of the solution. It is one reason why we have introduced this platform, which is the Diplomatic Affairs TV show, to project the international community, its role, its impact, and of course, what they seek to achieve. So the minute I saw you in this limelight, and we don't have that many women passing through this space, I'm like, hey, I think I found someone. You know what? I need to talk to this person. Let's talk about you. I mean, what's your story? What's your story? Who are you? Do you have to be extraordinary to be in this space?
I think you just have to be someone who is committed to making a difference and wanting to see change and being a part of the change that you want to see. It's more than just talk. It's really you putting your resources behind it. It's you taking the time to educate yourself, to be around people that may be uncomfortable at first, to expose yourself to different cultures, and then preparing yourself to handle the difficult and awkward conversations and awkward meetings where, yes, you might be, as we call it, the Lone Ranger. You may be the only one who is in this room that looks like you, whether it's gender or whether it's ethnicity, but still you have to be committed to work past what is uncomfortable. For me, how I got into this space goes back many years ago, but I will not age myself. We'll stay with
That's okay.
many years ago. And growing up, I always knew there was something really special about the world of business. I always understood that there was a certain connection that we all had, regardless of where we were. And as we know now, the world has become a smaller place with more technology that's coming out. And I remember I loved entrepreneurship. I loved certain aspects of politics, and I loved to be able to debate people on different things. And my mom would always say, that mouth of yours is really going to get you into trouble.
Good trouble.
Exactly. And so I remember going to her and saying, Mommy, I had to write a paper for school, and my paper was about how I wanted to be president of the United States of America. And my mom said, okay, if that's what you want to do, then you can do it. And then I started researching the salary, and I said, oh, Mommy, I think I could really help the president. I may not actually have to be the president, but I believe I can play a special role with, helping. And it's at an early age. And in the U.S., we have this program for young girls. It's called Girl Scouts. It may be Girl Guides here or in some other places, but Girl Scouts helped me really hone my business skills and my leadership skills. Of course, church helped with the leadership and the public speaking. But while I was in Girl Scouting, one thing that we had to do was to sell cookies as a part of our service project and to raise funds. So I became a cookie hustler extraordinaire.
I like the way you put it. A cookie hustler extraordinaire.
Right. So I learned how, we had set prices, but I learned how to negotiate with people and to help sell them something, even if they didn't think that they needed it. For example, if someone was dieting, say, oh, I can't eat cookies because I'm dieting, it would affect my weight loss goal. And I would say, I really understand that. I don't want to step away. We want you to step away from that. So why don't you go ahead and purchase 2 boxes just for the cause. So if there's someone else who may want it and can't afford it, they could have it. So I learned to negotiate. I learned to understand what different people needed. And if you understand what they need and you can understand what motivates them. So that was my cookie hustling days. I went from the young age all the way. I graduated, I think, with my silver in leadership with Girl Scouting. Later on, around the same time, really, we had programs in our school where we had to sell chocolate bars. And I will not give them their name because they didn't pay me either. So we had to sell these chocolate bars, and I remember each one of these bars, they were $1 each. And whoever sold them, they would always be honored and recognized by the school. And I said, there's something to this too. So then I became a chocolate dealer. And so I would deal my chocolates to different places where there was the hair salon, the fueling station. Church was my #1 customer because there's so many people at one place. So I would sell my cookies and my chocolates. And I learned how to create a budget, how to balance a budget, how to forecast. And I didn't realize at the time that that's what it was called, but that's what I was doing. I learned how to market, how to advertise, and how to get people to want to buy cookies and the chocolate from me versus someone else. I would even create partnerships with my mom and my sisters and say, if you sell this many chocolates for me or this many cookies, if you help me, then I'll be willing to do this for you. And so it just kind of led that journey into entrepreneurship, where I went from my chocolate dealing and my cookie hustling to being at uni and realizing that people would come to me all the time for advice. And I started going, I should be being paid for this. And I encourage people, okay, I can help you, but I need you to pay me. And so that's when I think even more so that whole entrepreneurship side started off. And with the university that I went to, I was fortunate to be around so many cultures, so many ethnicities, so many people, so many genders, and it really inspired me that this could be so much more than that. Being a child who was gifted in so many different areas intellectually, the push is always to tell people, okay, go towards science, technology, engineering, and math, and that's what I was pushed toward. And although I was good, I hated math, but I was good at what I was doing. I wasn't.
We have something in common.
Okay, good. So we're never going into math, any type of math-oriented thing together ever.
No.
I hated math, but I enjoyed the challenge that I would say engineering, because I did engineering, that engineering gave me. I love to look at and see problems and be able to discern what the answer should be. I was very analytical. But when one day I really realized I'm not passionate about engineering. I did chemical engineering. I love putting together different formulas, understanding how did they affect the world around me. And I understood that this is good. Someone should be doing it. I just don't think it needs to be me. So after being at uni for 3.5 years, I changed my major. And I changed my major to go into business. And that means there was some setbacks because business
ordinarily you should have done what?
Come again.
What was the duration for uni, ordinarily?
So ordinarily for engineering students, about 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
About 4 to 5 years. And I was determined to still stay with that trend. And that meant that there were days where I was, semesters I was taking 19 and 21 hours because I still wanted to graduate on time. And once I changed my major, there was such a weight lifted off of me because I found myself in my true calling and my true passion, which was really to understand, translate, and interpret culture for other people, to be able to learn other languages very quickly, which is not easy for a lot of people, but for me it was very easy.
How many of them do you speak?
Let me see. I would say in terms of fluency level, maybe about 3, but in terms of I can get around. I know how to order food and all the important things, about an additional 3.
Which languages?
So my primary languages are going to be in English, French, and Spanish. My secondary languages are going to be Hebrew, Italian, and Chi.
And Chi. At saying.
Stop it now. Yummy adon.
All right, you
tried to get me. You didn't know. I was coming back.
I didn't see that coming anyway, but I mean, that's a huge surprise.
It took me a moment because I've been speaking French all morning.
Right, absolutely. That's why I came in, at you like that. But listen, your story is I wouldn't say extraordinary for any child growing up and going through the process of education. What I think makes your story rather extraordinary is your resilience. And I think that's the extraordinary thing about you as a person. I haven't really known you for a very long time, but you know, we had our own moments.
We did.
That was off the camera, and I really enjoyed that one so much. Sorry, guys, but I did. We had a great time, and I was able to pick a few things about you, and that actually helped me to know who you are beyond Lady Jill. And I think I saw something beautiful. I love the fact that you took on something that many people would have just endured for no reason. At a point, you knew what you wanted. When you realized that this wasn't working for you, you were like, at this point, I don't care anymore. If I have to do it right, let me just rewind, reverse, go back, and get it right. Because you knew what you wanted at the end of the journey. You didn't want to just go through the process for going through the process sake, right?
Right.
You really wanted to get something out of the system. And that's something that most young people don't get to do.
Sure.
So that makes your story very extraordinary. And I love the fact that we are sharing this. So any young person watching us at this moment would know that, you know what, it's never too late for you to go back and pick the foundation and make sure you have a solid foundation for you to go through. Let's talk about, at which point did you get into international trade and finance? You always pick the most difficult things in the world. Why?
I love a challenge, right? I love a challenge. I consider myself to be a problem solver. I look for where there's gaps. I look for where there's opportunities for improvement, which makes me an excellent strategist. When I was going to school in France, I had the opportunity to have an excellent professor who was also in international trade. And he challenged me in asking me, you're in France now, but do you plan to stay? And if you plan to stay, what are your goals? How do you plan to do this? And at the time, I knew I wanted to stay in France for quite some time and to really learn. I just didn't know what the plan was to do it. It was a dream, because going to school in France was always a dream for me. Learning French was a dream for me. And so I said, okay, let me figure this out. And he offered me an opportunity, which was to present my CV to him. And I shared this story with you. In the US, we don't use CVs a lot. We use resumes. And here I was, on this college campus. I don't even know where the computer lab at this time, and trying to understand, how do I put together this CV? I didn't have printer, I didn't have computer, and I did it the best way I knew how, which was I hand wrote it. And it took me many attempts to get it perfectly handwritten.
Hand wrote your CV.
I did.
Who does that?
I did. Me. Me. Again, I didn't want to. I don't believe in excuses. I believe in solutions. And so I could have easily said,
I don't have it.
I don't have this. I don't have computer. I don't have this. I don't have that. I found a workaround. And so I hand wrote a multiple page CV in print versus cursive. I wanted to make sure that it was understood. I hand wrote this thing. It was at least 3 pages, I know. Made it very neat. It was on, college paper that you use to maybe have essays. And then I presented it to him, and to his dismay, he went, "Oh, I can't believe you did this. I'm grateful you did, but that shows me that you're committed, to your career, and you're committed to growing, even more." And he said, "This is not typical." And he didn't mean it offensively, but he said, "This is just not typical of Americans." And I told him, I said, "Well, let me help change your mind about who we really are, now that you're having the opportunity to get to know me." And then he said, "It's also not typical of women, or Black women," because there was this preconceived notion of Black women, who we were and how we would react in certain circumstances. I said, "Then you don't have the full picture." And I took it as my mission to give him the full picture of what does an African descended American look like, and how we operate, and then how does a proud Black woman operate. And so from that, he had my CV, and then he will begin to really take time outside of class to mentor me and to teach me different things and expose me to this whole world of international business. And many times it was uncomfortable. I remember it, as I share with you, and in a conference room full of all older men. It was me, the youngest one in the room, and I believe they really wanted me to understand that I was the baby in the room. So there were people from, you know, different nationalities, and depending on their nationality, that's what the drink that was offered to them. But when they came to me to offer me my drink, they didn't even offer water, okay? They offered me milk.
Excuse me.
I got offered milk, yes.
That's very insulting.
It was.
But
it was.
Did you find out why you were offered milk instead of maybe water or any soft drink?
I never even asked him. I just figured, since I had been learning from this incredible mentor and in my international business and relations classes, that I would do the next best thing. And I said, thank you for the offer. However, I'll take champagne. Please and thank you. And they were a bit shocked, but that's what was brought to me at that point. The milk was removed and the champagne came.
So your request was granted?
It was granted. I stood my ground.
What do you think that was? What was that for? That couldn't have just been anything.
No, of course
Trust
not.
me.
Of
That
course
was a
not.
message. What was the essence of the message, though?
I think there were a couple messages within the delivery of the milk. One was to remind me that I was the baby in the room. Right, that I was the one. So I was the baby in the room, and then also that I didn't know enough to be in that room. I wasn't equal to them. And then I think it had a part of it to do with my gender, that I don't think that anyone would have offered milk to a man. I just don't. And so I think that was also a way to kind of put me in my place as a woman, as well as a young person. And I just decided, well, I'm in the room, I'm at the table, I will make the best of it. Bring me my champagne, please.
And you figured it out. You decoded it. Okay, now, so before we move on, a few things running through my mind, though. I think I can share a few experience because of where I find myself as well, because of where we find ourselves.
Right.
I can relate to some of the things that you're talking about, where you find yourself in a place and people would deliberately make you feel like you haven't earned the right to be here.
Yes.
Who are you again? Who are your parents? What's your status? What's your last name? Where are you coming from? You must earn the right to be in this space, because the doors are not just open.
They don't.
For everyone to come in. Do you think, first and foremost, it was because you had elderly people in the room? These are people who would be considered as experts at their jobs, right? And you, out of nowhere, I'm sure somebody is thinking that you actually rode on the shoulders of somebody to get in here. And so we need to make you very uncomfortable. Hence, milk for you. But you stood your grounds and you diplomatically had to communicate back the message to them and say, you know what, I belong here. Let's start with a champagne.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think a lot of times we find ourselves in situations where people, particularly as women, because we're discussing the womanhood aspect of it, where there's always this tendency that we have to prove why we should be in the room. And I think early on, I did feel the need to prove that I'm as equally qualified, if not more than qualified, as you, because I think there is a study that has gone out that Black women from America are the most educated in the entire world. We have all kinds of degrees and credentials and certifications, but it's because of the environment that we have come from. And me coming from the family that I came from, I understood something, that with Christ, all things are possible. So you're not going to stop me. You might as well let me in, and if you don't, I'll just end up running what you're trying to do anyway. And so I think early on, yes, I felt the need to prove that I deserved to be in the room. I no longer feel that need. I just have my stilettos on. I have my nice dressing on, because that's a part of who I am. It's how I like to present myself. And I walk in with executive presence, that once I walk in, you're not asking a question, should she be in this room? You're now asking a question, should I know her? And how come I already don't?
Right. Should I know her? And how come I already don't? Wow. Now, let's talk about that. That takes me to my next question,
Sure.
which is highly of concern to me, and anyone that follows me knows that I have been talking about this for some days now. First and foremost, I want us to establish, is it the fact that diplomacy, international relations, global affairs is not something that we usually talk about accessible? Is it accessible in any way? Because my story is, growing up, I never knew anything about diplomacy, international relations, bilateral. I'm like, I never knew anything. Yes, I never knew anything about what was this. You know, it was so new to me until I stepped into journalism, and I made it my business to learn and learn with the people. And take on this adventure with the people, my audience, and also, most importantly, the ordinary Ghanaian, or even, you know, any person outside the borders of our country who might be watching the show should know about this. Now we have young people, you know, gearing towards diplomacy. Ask them and they will tell you, I want to be an international relations expert. I'm like, ooh, yes. I envy you so much. You know what? Because growing up, I didn't know anything about this profession. Is it accessible?
I would say things have gotten better. In terms of accessibility, that's where you and I come in. Because for me, it was a few men in my life who actually brought me and introduced me. Like, I did the education side, I did the research side, I did all of those things. But my actual entrance into a lot of the work that I was able to do, and I'll say the exposure that I was able to have, it came from men recognizing that I was a phenomenal woman and I was a great strategist, and that I understood things that was beyond the surface, that I could really get in and have those strong, awkward, difficult conversations with them and with others, and taking the emotions out of it. So it wasn't that, It
Rule out
was
your
more
emotions.
of, I have something to say, and this is why you should listen. And it was backed by facts. For me, I owe it to another woman, to another young woman, to say to her, my dear, come with me. Let me bring you here so that you don't have to have the fight that I had. It's a privilege and an honor to sit in these rooms that you and I get to sit in, and to be around these, as we say in Ghana, these big people, right? These highly influential. It's a privilege to be able to sit at their feet and learn from them. Well, everyone's not going to get that same privilege, but what I can do from what I glean from these relationships, these encounters, these experiences, this exposure, is to now come back. And I can lift a woman after woman after woman, girl after girl after girl, and say, listen, I've got you. There are certain fights you don't have to fight. There's certain exposure you don't have to fight for. I will bring the platform to you, which is why everywhere I go, this pink crown is there. It is to remind me, to remind women of the queens that they are, and to empower them to say, I am good enough. I have what it takes, because someone did that to me. So now, everywhere I go, all over the world, I'm looking for women. When I met your PA today, I greeted her. I wanted to shake her hand, but at the same time, I wanted to hug her and embrace her. Just to remind her, we're in this together. I don't care about my title. I don't care about the accolades. I don't care about all the degrees and everything. My purpose, my mission, is to bring us together and give women an opportunity without them having to fight and struggle. It doesn't mean that you don't get to do the work. Like, you have to do the work. And as I see you doing the work, where you may have some challenges, you may stumble, that's where I come in to just kind of undergird you and to pick you up and to say, girl, adjust your crown, let's do this work.
I am speechless, but I share in everything that you've just, touched on right now. My thing is, that's going to take me to women empowerment, because we've just started the conversation around women empowerment, the need for women to empower each other, and the need for us to also empower the boys.
Yes.
Not just the girl child.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I'm going to state, I'm going to share a story with you. And when you talk about opportunities, when you talk about creating an enabling space for young women to thrive, someone has to do the job to change the narrative for a better tomorrow. And that's what you are all about. And the constant reminder of women and girls that you are a queen. And this crown, which is highly symbolic when it comes to your values, your principles, and all the things that you are. And I'm looking at the fact that you have to want it for someone to get you into that space. Because if you don't want it, it is difficult for anyone to pull you into their space. If you are hungry, are you hungry? Yes, I am hungry. Would you like to eat? Yes, I'd like to eat. Are you ready for us to prepare the dish together? Yes. And so you have to want it for anyone who is in that position to actually to lift you and bring you to where you ought to be. It's a process. How do you identify them? With all the distractions happening right now. Trust me, with all the distractions happening right now.
There are lots.
How do you identify them?
I look for, when my team, because I can't take credit for it, but when my team posts different things on social media, there's a particular audience that we're speaking to. We're speaking to women, we're also speaking to men, we're speaking to business owners, we're speaking to entrepreneurs who need a chance, need an opportunity. And often I will receive messages that say, if you just give me an opportunity to work with you or to da-da-da-da-da-da. And rarely do we turn someone away who's truly hungry and truly has a desire to make sure that their life can be different, that their trajectory is changed. We present the opportunity. Now, it doesn't always go as we would want it to go. Some stay, some go, but we have instilled something special into that person because it takes nothing from us to pour into someone else's life. So if someone sends me a message and say, can I just meet with you for 15 minutes? Now, 15 minutes of my time is very valuable, but I have to remember that someone took 15, 30, 60 minutes and more to invest in me. So I do the same thing. And my team would say, lady, please go to sleep. Please sleep, please sleep, please sleep. But I believe it's so important that, yes, we create that space. And sometimes what I have found out is that a lot of people, whether, male or female, they don't know that there's this whole thing of international trade and diplomacy out there. They don't know that this career path even exists. They think about foreign affairs and they'll see people, the ambassadors, and they'll see all these people doing the work, and everyone's clapping for them. But what they don't always understand is that there's somebody or somebodies who are standing behind them to help them achieve it. So for me, I think part of it's really awareness, is building that awareness that yes, you can do it. We, at Jamerson, we do trade missions every year.
And Jamerson is your organization.
It is. So it's
right.
Jamerson.
We'll talk about Jamerson.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. So it's Jamerson Strategic Consulting. We're an LLC. Our world headquarters is in the amazing city of Memphis, Tennessee, USA. What we do, in addition to our international trade, our diplomacy, our project management, business advisory, and consulting, is that we created a special service offering to host foreign trade missions, whether it's external or internal to the USA. And we identify businesses who haven't thought about, how do I take my business global? Or if they have thought about it, they have no clue how to do it. And so we partner with other organizations where we come and we say, listen, you can do this work. Let us show you, based upon your product, based upon your service, how you can internationalize your brand, diversify what you have to offer, and do it in different markets where you have the opportunity to hedge against market changes, inflation, all these things. But now you have a worldwide audience. So the last, 2 years, maybe 3 years, we have brought companies, SMEs, to Ghana to have an opportunity to sit down and have the international dialogue. We've done the conferencing, we've created business linkages and relationships. We also do it with the support of the AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunities Act.
Fostering partnerships.
Exactly, and because we have learned that, particularly for the diaspora and for the Africans, that when you put us in the room together, I don't care how long we've been separated by time and space, if we never knew anything about each other, we instantly have this connection because our ancestry, it speaks for us when we come into a room. And so creating those business linkages, those cultural and ancestral linkages has been so rewarding, seeing these businesses grow. I mean, we've even had universities to become our clients, to bring them to Ghana to recruit, and we've been able to help with those efforts. So we continue to do the work to provide exposure, awareness, and opportunity. Because it's one thing to say to someone, oh, you should go try this international thing. How? You know, that's just like telling a baby, okay, cross the street and there's cars coming on both sides. No, you take them by the hand, you give them the guidance that they need, and you walk with them step by step until they are ready to do it on their own.
Amazing. That's a great work you're doing there with the organization.
Thank you.
So we will now get into your duty or job when it comes to His Royal Majesty, the Ashanti King, Otumfuo Osei Tutu. What's your relationship with the office of the Otumfuo Osei Tutu?
So I would say a couple of things, but first I would start off with saying that I am deeply honored to be able to serve His Royal Majesty. He's had such a great impact on so many people. I first had an opportunity to meet with him and to work with him when one of our city's organizations put together a program which was to honor the Republic of Ghana. And at that time, my firm was brought in to do some different things for his particular delegation, but I myself was brought in as his VIP diplomatic liaison. And
VIP diplomatic liaison. That's a huge portfolio.
It is.
It comes with a lot of responsibilities.
It does. It was something that I was so honored to be able to be selected for that role, but at the same time very nervous to be selected for that role, because it's one of those positions where you dare not mess up. And I remember I had some small fumbles here and there, and him being a gracious king and a wise king that he is, one of the things he told me is, I know you were hired for a specific purpose, for a specific role. I know you can do this, so just do the job. You're fine. Things happen. And I was shocked, because you would think that someone in his position would be like, hey, slap your hand. But it wasn't that at all. He was very humble, very gracious and understanding. And I was able to learn from him afar and up close with some of the briefings that we would have to have. Having that role, it came because of all the work that I had put in years back, all the education, all the training, understanding, you know, royal protocol. It positioned me to be able to be called upon for that particular role, and having the distinct honor to not only serving as a liaison for him, but serving on the board of directors for the Otumfuo Osei Tutu, Foundation. So I'm very proud to do that work. It's a heartbeat passion for me, because it lets me marry my love for Ghana, for the Ashanti Kingdom, as well as for the diaspora. And one of the things that he has blessed me to do, right, is to really speak to the diaspora on his behalf, and why there is a need and a pull and a push for the diaspora to return home and to help and to support and to develop, so that we don't have this continual reliance on foreign aid.
Exactly.
Foreign aid is very helpful, but it should be
balanced.
It should be balanced.
Right.
And so I am fortunate to get to speak to other nations, other leaders who may not have heard the work that he's doing, and really kind of put emphasis on it. Like, this is what our king is doing. This is his desire, and his motivation, and his vision. It extends beyond the borders of Ghana, extends beyond the borders of the Ashanti Empire. This is really about bringing people together for one Africa, one world, where we're all working together in harmony. But there is a special call to the diaspora, because many of us, just like me, we were, our connection to Africa was cut because of slavery. And it is, for many of us, it's still a very sensitive issue. We want so much to be a part of our history, our culture, and our ancestry. And for me, and for the role that I have with His Majesty, that was something that he said he was putting to rest. which was to come into the whole family, to come into the kingdom, essentially. So I got adopted, which, I mean, how many people can say, you know, I was adopted into this family? But with that adoption came responsibility that I don't take lightly. And so it is my esteemed privilege to be able to speak to others on what the King is doing, speak to others on what the foundation is doing,
exposure.
and to recruit businesses, you know, to the Ashanti region, to Ghana, and even bridge gaps between even businesses that are already here who are doing the work but don't realize that this resource is here, this one is here. Let us pull this together to have a better, stronger Ghana.
Right.
So it's been indeed a blessing. It's an honor, but it's also a responsibility. I don't just get to walk around like, oh, I'm good. It's you work.
Hello, everyone.
Right. You work, and it's good work.
Right.
It's not just career. It's not just job, but it's mission-centered and vision-focused work to make sure that people understand the heart of our King, not just his seat of power and his seat of authority, but really his heart. Because I believe when you can see someone's heart, then you are willing to commit yourself to the work. And that's what I've been able to do.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So far, so good, I guess.
It's going very well.
Great.
I'm very proud, very pleased. He is a great king. He is a wise king. He's a gracious king.
He's a great leader.
I was about to say that too, but you took it from me. And so I've learned so much from him.
And you continue to learn so much from him
Very
as well.
much so.
So he was awarded with the Excellence in Cultural Diplomacy at the Maiden Diplomatic Honors,
Well done,
which we
him.
organized. Yes, so he was recognized for his good deeds and in promoting the Ghanaian culture, the African culture, and using that to create opportunities for Ghanaians and Africans, you know. So that has brought a lot of attention to our continent, you know, because he is always, you know, looking fantastic in his regalia and these vibrant colors, you know, representing us in a very good way. So we actually honored him. I want us to talk about, once we touched on women empowerment, I want us to also talk about the underrepresentation of women in this space, which you and I have a lot of work to do.
We do.
We need to recruit more women into international relations, especially where you find yourself, which is international trade and finance and all the things around that. Let's talk about the underrepresentation of women in this area. You talked about awareness, which is number one. What can we do to bridge the gap?
Continue having the conversation.
Right.
Let's start with that. Continue building the awareness. Continue to allow ourselves to be in a situation where it's awkward, it's uncomfortable. It's becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Right.
And learning how to use our platforms to really engage and bring women in. A lot of times people may have an interest, or women may have an interest, but they don't know where to start. By us continuing to talk and then us reaching out, even if that outreach is one-on-one, you have a certain type of impact, which is really nice. It works for the mentoring and the coaching. But then we have to do the grander scheme of things, which is we have certain convenings where we teach, we train, we develop, we lead, and show them how this can be done. And sometimes for a lot of the women, it's really showing them sometimes it's some things that we take for granted that are simple, how you present yourself, how you sit, how you stand. It's having etiquette lessons. It's having culture lessons. How do you give a business card in most other parts of the world than the U.S. and in Ghana? It's two hands. So there's just certain cultural nuances that they wouldn't even know that they could cause offense without realizing they're causing offense. So awareness, yes. Champion advocacy, absolutely.
Right.
Create platforms, cannot stop doing that. But then with those platforms, we have to teach, train, develop, and lead them. And I think that's where you and I can continue seeing what's available, even if you're doing something when you do your, I'm guessing, the awards next year.
Yes.
I'll be there. I'll wait for my invitation.
already invited herself, people.
I'll wait for in front of the world now. You know, the world knows that I'm waiting for my invitation. World, I'm waiting for my invitation. I'll go ahead and have me something nice. We would
gladly love to have you around, Lady Jill. We would gladly love to have you around. You are a stakeholder, so we will be exploring other things around us.
Ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So you're right. That's key. Wate.
So I will continue doing the work that I'm doing and partnering with people, you know, like you, because we are now sisters. Like, we're connected. We have laughed together. We have cried together. We've done it all. So at this point, we are practically like blood related. The ancestors have brought us together. This calling it's not a job. It's a calling that both of us have to help our sisters and to equip them. We empower and we equip. I'm ready. I'm so excited. We just recently launched kind of a soft launch of our Pink Crown Initiative. And that's part of what the Pink Crown Initiative does.
And there we have it, you know, the Pink Crown.
Exactly. Having this initiative is to give women access to certain things that they may not know, certain capacity building, technical, you know, assistance. But then it's also those skills that sometimes you have to go sit in university to learn, but no one can always do that. And some of it's because you had someone who took you by the hand. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. It's someone who took you by the hand and said, my sis, you're not alone. Look them in the eye. We're in this together. Let me pull you with me. So even if you feel you can't do it because I'm pulling them, you're pulling them, then they can do it. Right. Okay, sis, this is how I need you to learn to sit. This is how you, when you sit at a dinner table, this is how you cut your food. This is what is appropriate to wear for white tie, black tie, formal, casual. This is how you should do these things. Not everyone has had the privilege of learning these things, but when we come together and we hold these type of convenings, we can teach even what seems so simple. Right. How do you walk into a room? It seems simple, right?
Right.
Anybody can walk into a room, but it's how you walk into the room that changes everything, and it shapes people's opinion of you from the very beginning. How do you get out of the car as a lady?
Right.
You know, I can't do the example, but you know, you don't want to get out flashing people, but there's a proper way to do it.
Right.
So let's keep talking, let's plan, let's come up with something that these women can truly learn from us. And then, as you mentioned earlier, let's also help the boys, because they need to know, they need to understand. It's not, you know, we don't exist in this sphere all by ourselves. We have to have help. And I'm appreciative of the men who have been in my life who saw something in me. I love the women. They've done an amazing, my mother is like my shero. She's done an amazing job, and other women who have held me up and pushed me. And I'm also grateful for the men who have pushed me. The mentor that I had when I was in school in France, one of the ones I have in America now, who just sometimes just called to check on me. Are you okay? Like, are you resting? Because rest is important. And then His Majesty. He didn't have to adopt me into all of this. He didn't have to trust me. He could have easily said, bring me somebody else. But he believed in me that I could do it and reminded me that I can do it. And he trusted me to do the work. And he continues to trust me to do that work. And I'm proud and thankful.
Amazing. We cannot raise powerful women without raising men who can appreciate the power that women are given. Otherwise, there is a problem.
Absolutely.
We cannot empower women and not raise men who can handle powerful women. Otherwise, there will always be a serious imbalance like that, and there will always be a problem in our society. So we have to bring the men along.
Absolutely.
They need help, and sometimes we think they are macho about everything, so they are fine, but they must be groomed so they can handle these women who have been empowered, you know, and appreciate who they are and what they bring to the table also.
Another thing that I would add is one of the reasons why I'm able to go out into the world and be great and, you know, sacrifice some of the time that I know my family would want me to have is because I have a strong black man at home of almost 17 years supporting me and saying, go forth, walk into your calling.
You can
walk
do
into
it.
your destiny. I've got it. Just go ahead. Even if the business does not do
Right,
well,
right.
I've got you. You don't have to worry about trying to figure out how you pay. Just go and be who God called you to be. And so because I have that support system that is coming from a man, and because I have a support system, coming from my mom, my sisters, my aunties, all these people are pulling for me. It's the village that we always speak about, but we don't always see it in action. So our role as women who are in this diplomatic space is to be that safe village for these women, that we're cultivating them for greatness, because greatness doesn't just happen, it's cultivated. So someone has been cultivating you, you've been doing the work, more than one person, I'm sure. And it's the same thing for me, is that my life has been designed and destined by God, but it's been cultivated by the men and women who have shown care and compassion to me and have invested in my life.
Wonderful. Greatness is not an event. Greatness is not an event. It is a process. You must be cultivated into greatness. That's well understood. Her Excellency Lady Joanna J. Coleman, I've been speaking with on Diplomatic Affairs today. We've been talking about recruiting more women into the field of diplomacy and international relations. We need more women representing in this space, because I'd like to, 5 years from now, I'd like to call women resource persons to discuss issues pertaining to global affairs, what's happening in another country, and how that is going to affect the world, and all those things. We need more women in this space, and we've already identified what needs to be done for us to get more women in this space. We need to mentor them, outreach programs. We need to bring them in, create an enabling environment for them to thrive. We need to build their confidence. We need to create that village, which you just talked about, having your husband, your mom, and all these people around you. Some people might not have that village, immediate village, right? But they have the extended village, and that's you and I, our role. That's why we are here, and someone has to do that job. So we have a lot of work to do. Lady, it is such an honor to have you on Diplomatic Affairs. I am so thrilled that we could share this vital information, this platform, and this moment with the rest of the world. Now let's get to work.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I was born ready. I was born for this.
I can see that. I can see the fire and I can feel the fire. So that's good. I can see the fire and I can feel it also. Thank you so much for your time with us. And I don't want to shed tears, because today, the other day I didn't have my makeup on, but today I do. So I don't want to shed I don't want to shed tears.
Fake tear, fake cry.
It is so nice to have you on the show.
Thank
and
you.
Of course, like I said, we have work to do. So let's get to work immediately. Let's get to work. And this is our calling. So let's get to it as soon as possible. Thank you once again. Last words?
I would say whether you are male or female, tap into your purpose, tap into your calling, and whatever that may be, believe in it, do the work, and then find someone in your life who is willing to support you and help you. And for my women who are out there, I don't care your age, young, old, these two women right here, we are here for you. We support you. We're proud of you, and we're going to build a greater world for each other and greater nations as we continue to grow, because the next time I'm at the United Nations, I want to take you with me. I want us to be in there representing for the things that really matter and affect our lives and our communities. Thank you. God bless you. And Madam Harriet, thank you for having me so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We really appreciate this moments with you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, people. So it's been a very interesting moment with Lady J. Officially, Her Excellency Lady Joanna J. Coleman. We've been talking about more women representing in international relations and diplomacy, foreign affairs. We want to see more of us in that space. So this is the job that we have taken upon ourselves. And I'm so grateful that she could make the time to join us on today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nartey, and of course, we look forward to hosting you same time next week. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Bye-bye.